Good morning. This is Daily Hebrew Declarations with Daniel Jedediah Cook, and I'm reading the declaration for today, January the 8th, 2021. The three Hebrew letters we're honoring today are Mem, Chet, and Shin. Along with those three living letters, we're also honoring the spirit of understanding, the spirit of wisdom, and the spirit of might. The declaration today reads this: the essence of the upper and lower waters, the depths of mystery. The universe of two and the universe of many, all in the place called now. Sealed and stamped into our hearts for the sake of us being identified in the realms of heaven and all of creation. Now, today's declaration begins talking about the essence of the upper and lower waters and the depths of the mystery. Now, we know that frequency is found everywhere, and probably the one most identifiable place where frequency is seen on a consistent basis is, of course, in water. Now, we have water inside of us. We have the water that's in the earth itself. We have the waters that are above the heavens. You know, we talk about the place of how when the sun heats up the water and it evaporates and it turns into clouds. So we've got the upper waters when it comes to that. But when you come to a kind of a science aspect of that, there's one thing that every time I hear about a subject called dark matter. Now, dark matter is a term that science has used to describe something that they just don't know what it is. Hence the reason they call it dark. Not because it's evil, just because it's something that they don't know. But when they begin to describe the process of the way that dark matter works and how that the dark matter is what allows all of our planets to be going at the same exact speed, regardless of whether they are close to the black hole. There is a black hole at the center of our universe. I don't know if you knew that or not, but there is. And it allows the planets that are at the center of the universe to move at the same speed as the ones that are on the outside of the universe, the ones furthest away from the gravity source. And you see, the only thing that I can ever really come to when I begin to think about that is the place of water. Because water is the same thing is true. Now, of course, the closer it gets to the center, the more faster it seems to move. But that doesn't mean that it's moving really any faster than the outside, because the molecules are joined together as one moving. Are you beginning to see the picture that I'm beginning to show here? You see, there's in this place of being in Him, in this place of the one new man, the position is irrelevant, because in this place where we all operate together, we are all moving towards the same goal. We are all moving in that same direction. And not only that, there's going to be a movement. There's going to be a movement inward and a movement outward as everything begins to move together, so that we all come together as one and we all operate together as one. And the entire world is affected as a result of this. You see, I really can't help but talk about this place of the one new man, because it's the place that I know that Yahweh is calling us into. The connection with each and every one of us. We've talked so much about treasure. We've talked so much about the fullness. And Mem speaks and declares and decrees about the fullness of Yahweh. But it also talks about the multitudes. You see, Mem can be seen as both the fullness of the treasuries of heaven. It can be also the fullness of Yahweh's word. But Mem can also talk about the multitudes, all of us, connected together as one, operating and moving together as one. You see, we begin to see that the essence of the upper and the lower waters are taking us into the depths of Yahweh's mystery, because it's the upper and lower waters. Let's just break down the sea itself. We can look at the very shallow part of the water, and we see the frequency. Frequency tends to be shown a lot more easily at the surface of the water, because we see the waves. But there's frequency that penetrates all the way to the very depths of the water. You let something shift under the water itself, and suddenly now you've got a wave that occurs. You've got just one little small tiny move, and a little bit larger of a wave can be created as a result. That's why science says that sometimes with an earthquake underneath the water, it creates a tsunami because there's a large movement of something underneath the water, and it creates a frequency. That frequency reverberates from the very top part of the water itself all the way to the very depths, the Tehom. You see, frequency is in us. Frequency is a part of us. When we talk about the essence, we're talking about the essence of Yahweh's glory, the essence of who he is in us, the frequency of Yahweh. Apostle Aaron Smith has been speaking about this for years, talking about the glorious liberty of the sons of Yahweh and the revealing of the sons of Yahweh. You see, in this place of the earth beginning to groan and the earth crying out, hearing the sons of Almighty Yahweh, it's because we've begun to change our frequency to the sound of Yahweh. We are tapping into the frequency of Almighty Yahweh. We are not frequency receptors in that sense. We are frequency generators. We are the ones that set the frequency. You walk into a room, and the room is a result of either the compilation of all the people that are there or the strongest frequency in the room. Well, what do you mean by that, brother? Well, you've heard the story about taking two guitars. You pluck the string of one guitar in a room, and where another guitar is on the other side of the room, and guess what happens? After a few moments, that same string on the other guitar will begin to vibrate because it's picked up the frequency of the first one, and it begins to vibrate on the other one at the same time. So you see, there is a place of us walking into and being the frequency of Almighty Yahweh, setting the frequency of every tone. I used to wonder all the time, especially when I was younger, how sometimes you would go into church and there would be, particularly during a church meeting, and some Sundays or some Wednesdays it seemed like a struggle in worship and that sort of thing. And then other times it would be like we'd walk in and all of a sudden there was this huge difference. There was this move towards towards the glory of Yahweh and working together in praise and worship and coming together in unison. And it was very obvious and it was beautiful. And I always wondered what the difference was. Well, I guess I convicted my own self in that one. Maybe not necessarily in the sense of at least the conviction of saying, hey, I am a frequency generator. What's my heart when I walk into any meeting? What's my heart when I get together with others? What is my heart as we begin to share with one another? You see, we are the essence of Almighty Yahweh. Well, how do we get that essence? How do we get to the place where we can operate in that essence? Well, it really begins in what I like to call the universe of two. Now, the universe of two is, to me, what I call the secret place as well. Or I've got two different terms that I use for that. The universe of two and the secret place. The reason I like to call it the universe of two is really because when I walk into the secret place, it's just Yahweh and I. There are no demons, there are no devils, nothing else exists in that place. Nothing that isn't brought in there can exist inside of that place. You see what I'm saying? And so I am completely protected. It reminds me of Psalm 91. He who sits in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. You're like, wait a minute. The scripture there, it says he who dwells, not he who sits. Well, go back to the original Hebrew and you'll discover that first word, yeshav, literally means he who sits. And it's a positional word. He who sits as a king, as a priest. See, Yahweh has made us a king and a priest. And so in that place of sitting in the authority that Yahweh has given us, in his authority, then we are as a king seated on the throne together with him. You see where this place of peace is? You see where Psalm 91 begins to make even more sense? But see, it's in that universe of two where it's just that heart-to-heart communication. It's that heart-to-heart love. And that's the place where we work. But then we come together in the universe of many and we begin to operate in the fullness of Yahweh. We are sealed and stamped into our hearts for the sake of us being identified in the realms of heaven and all of creation. Because Yahweh, we are your sons, we are your kings, we are your priests.